Hey guys, Kevin Rute here from Boy Media, and today I want to go over a topic on Facebook bidding, and we're going to go over all the bidding methods that Facebook has for your account that you can use and how you can control the costs, get more sales, and get better results. With this, you really want to be thinking about what is your overall business goals because what your business goals is going to affect what your bidding strategy is and how you should think about it. But first, let's dive right into the Facebook documentation of the bidding strategies, and then we'll go over what they mean and how you should be thinking about it. Here are all the different optimization goals, essentially bidding strategies that Facebook has. If you look at this first one, it's called maximize number of results for your budget. Really, this is what people see as called lowest cost. Lowest cost is essentially what most people do on their ad account. We run a lot of accounts, but we also do the other ones as well. So with lowest cost, the way you want to be thinking about it is, let's say your budget's $100 a day. Facebook will try to spend $100 a day every single day and try to find you the lowest conversions, the lowest CPMs it possibly can. With this, really what you're thinking about is getting volume. You're making sure that you're spending the budget every single day and that you're trying to get conversions for yourself. The next one is maximize conversion value. Sometimes Facebook calls it its highest value. And this also uses automatic bidding. So basically Facebook internally tries to find the bid amount. The bid amount is also different than the cost amount. So those are two things to keep in mind. What you bid in the auction is not necessarily how much it'll cost you for the result, which is what people talk about when they see CPA. This one is interesting because some accounts have it, some don't. It just really depends on where you are at in your ad account. What to look out for this, Facebook says you need to make sure your pixel's working. And again, requires a good amount of sales, a good amount of products, and a good amount of different distribution of values that you have. So potentially if you have a wide selection of a catalog, this could be something you want to be thinking about. The next one that we see a lot of people use is called cost cap. And basically, cost cap, it controls the cost of your results. And this is where, let's say you have a strict CPA budget, you could potentially use cost cap to control that strict CPA. And Facebook says, keep CPA at or below a certain amount regardless of market conditions. This in theory sounds great, but one thing to keep in mind is that let's say your cost cap is too restrictive, then your ads just won't spend any money. And we see this all the time where someone has a $50 cost cap and they want to get it at $50 every single day. Some days you'll spend money, some days it won't. Even Facebook says it right here, spend may be slower than when using lowest costs. Because remember, with lowest costs, no matter what your budget is, Facebook's going to try to spend it every single day. Whereas cost cap, you can have $1,000 budget, but if Facebook can't get you that conversion at that price that you want, then you won't spend that budget. This is why you really need to be thinking about what do you want and what the goal is. If you want to sell stuff, lowest cost, cost cap, these all work, but for cost cap, you might want to raise the bid from $50 to $55 if it's not spending. With cost cap, you're going to need to go more into the ad account and be looking at more of the stuff in there. Some other things to consider about learning phase may take longer. Again, we talked about the learning phase in another episode, so you can take a look at that. If you typically have a conversion window longer time, you might see fluctuations in the CPA. Cost cap sounds great. Use it, but just know that you might not spend all your budget. So again, it's just a different campaign that you can have in your ad account to try to see if they work for you. The next one that we see a lot of people use is called minimum ROAS. This works great for some few accounts. Basically what it is, it's control your return on ad spend based on ROAS. And the other one, cost cap, is based on your CPA. Again, similar to cost cap and sort of highest value, sometimes this is super restrictive. Facebook just can't find the people at that ROAS that you're looking to do. So then you're going to have low spend and a good amount of a high ROAS, but low spend. So that's where you need to be balancing this out for your business. You maybe want to have some campaigns with a minimum ROAS that's going to get you the minimum ROAS you're looking to get, which is a potentially higher volume, but also less spend. And then you also have some campaigns that are in the lowest cost where you're spending more budget, feeding the algorithm, feeding the retargeting campaigns, feeding everything else. So that's something that you don't want to be thinking about too, is objections. And some accounts that we see, some accounts that we work on, we have all sort of types of bidding methods because we're all getting different types of results for different audiences that we're testing. What Facebook says is you should use minimum ROAS if you care more about spend than generate specific ROAS. Consider using highest value costs. Requires the pixel to pass back the data. So again, all these require, the ROAS ones all require you to pass back the data. So if you're not passing the value back, then you probably won't be able to use it. Facebook says the warning here, if Facebook cannot reach your ROAS floor, then delivery may stop. And basically you're not gonna spend your whole budget. So just keep that in mind. The other one is called Bitcap. We use this one a lot too. A little bit more advanced. It requires a lot more tweaking, a lot more touching. Sometimes you need to use rules here. So we use some of the Facebook rules to sort of up the bid. A bid isn't the cost of what you pay. So that's a key thing I mentioned earlier in the video. It's manually cap how much Facebook bids in the auction. Basically, a Facebook bid is how much you're saying, hey, Facebook, I want to enter the auction at this price. So show my ad at that price. It's not related to your cost. So you can enter the auction at like $100, but your cost could still be $30. Really, for Bitcap, we kind of use it a lot during peak seasons, like holidays, when a lot of brands are spending a lot on Facebook. You want to be entering the auction at a higher price than everybody else because you want to make sure your ads show up. If your ads don't show up, then you can't get any sales. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to pay more. And again, you might, but at least now you're sort of showing your ads to people that are in this sort of like hot market, especially during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas week, where you know people are buying, you want to show your ads. So consider using Bitcap for the holiday season. What it is, it's advertised to use internal bidding or LTV models. So you kind of understand your customers a little bit more. You understand how much each customer is worth, controlling how much Facebook can bid in auctions. And this is basically with lowest cost, which is the first one, automatic bidding. You don't control it. With this one, you say at what price I want to enter the auction is. Does not control the CPA. It's not related to the CPA at all. It's really about internal auctioning. This is how Facebook thinks about it. So let's scroll up a little bit, the two different charts that Facebook says, because really cost cap and bid cap are probably the two most common ones that Facebook has that are difficult to understand. Minimum ROAS, lowest cost, highest value, those are kind of obvious to understand, but it's these two, cost cap and bid cap, they're the harder ones to understand, probably the ones that are most important. Cost cap is best for getting most volume. Things to consider are for Facebook are cost per increases, budget increases. This is something that happens no matter what bidding strategy you use. As you spend more money, cost is going to go up because it's going to be a little bit harder and harder to find somebody to purchase your product as you're sort of scaling up. Bitcap, it's again best for controlling bids in the auction, not related to the actual CPA costs, the value that's going to be costing you to sort of get a conversion result. Those are all the bidding strategies that Facebook has. The way we think about it here is actually, let me show you this other graph that Facebook has. Do you want to control the costs? This sounds great. Of course, you always want to control the cost, right? But if you're thinking about getting volume of sales, you think about Facebook's AI and learning algorithm, you kind of want to maybe want to do lowest cost all the time. We do a lot of lowest cost now because it's working well. We still do cost control campaigns, but as we're scaling up, we're seeing that lowest cost is giving us the best results, the best CPMs, the best CPA. And the thing about it too, the ease of use is just so much easier that you don't have to think about it. And with all these cost control ones, in theory, it sounds great. You can get a CPA at $50 if you put $50 cost control, but you're going to limit your delivery. You're going to have some days where nothing spends, and you're going to be upset that you're not getting any sales. And again, you're going to have to manually go into the ad account every hour or two to maybe update the bid, update the target cost, update the cost cap to get something spending. That's what you should be thinking about with all these bidding methods, the ease of use. We love using lowest cost. It basically says you have $1,000 budget a day, spend it as much as you can Facebook, and try to find me the conversion at the lowest price. Cost cap, saying I only want to pay $50 for the conversion of this widget. Find that for me with the budget I have, like say 1,000. If you some days you'll spend $100, you might get two conversions. Some day you'll spend $1,000 and you get all the conversions you can for that $50 price. Other days you might not spend anything because the auction is super competitive. And then you have bid cap, which is saying you want to enter the auction at this price. Please show my ad up and hopefully get a conversion. And then you have minimum ROAS and then highest value, which is sort of based on the ROAS and the value that you want to tell Facebook to find for you. The biggest lesson here is lowest cost is the one that's really great. With the other ones, you're constricting the bid, you're constricting everything on Facebook, and you have a little bit more control. That could work in your favor, but that couldn't. Just think about every single strategy that Facebook has and see how you can apply for your business. If you're looking for volume, lowest cost. If you're looking for less amount of sales, but good amount of returns, maybe start looking into target costs or cost control campaigns, or just even do lowest cost. It still works well. I hope that was informational. Hope you guys learned something from it. Any questions or comments, feel free to put it on YouTube or feel free to reach out to me via email. That's Kevin at Voy Media. And if you're looking to work with us, feel free to just visit voymedia.com. Thanks.